Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, that is Gayatri, your Codex Mitra, and also welcome back to our new series of R language. And in today's video I will teach you about the matrices in R language, which all function used to create the matrices and all other functions that worked with the matrices. So let's start with our videos. So let me introduce what is the matrix in R language. So a matrix is basically a two-dimensional array where we can store the multiple elements of a same mode. Means that elements can be a numerical, character or logical values. So there are the four functions used to create the matrix in R language. First one is the matrix function, and the second one is the rbind function, and the third one is the cbind, means the column bind function, and the last one is the dim function. This all function we can use to create the matrix. So let's create one matrix using these all functions. Let's see the definition of a matrix one more time. So here you can see a matrix is a two-dimensional array where each element has the same mode. Means it can be a numerical, character and logical, as I told previously. So here you can see these are the functions used to create the matrix. Matrix function, rbind, cbind and dim functions. So here you can see the example over here. The matrix function. This is the name of the matrix, and this is the assignment operator, and here you can see the matrix function, and in this these all are the attributes of the matrix function. So here you can see first one is the vector. We have to give the vector, means all the elements that we want to enter in the matrix, and second one is the n row, means the number of rows that you want in your matrix, and next is the n col, means the number of columns in your matrix, and here you can see that next one is the by row, means if you want to store that values by the rows and values is equals to true, then that elements are displayed by the values. Means if you can see that I have given the values as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and I have given the number of rows as 3 and number of column is equals to 3, then and given the by row value is true, then that element or that matrix has the elements like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. This is how the elements can store if the by row is equals to true. If that is false, then the value is displays like a 1 2 3, means the column wise the values are displayed. Next, here you can see the dim names, and this dim names means the dimension names. So the matrix contains the more columns and rows, so we can specify the row names and the column names. So here it has used the list function to give the row names and the column names. So here you can see I have opened the R Studio. Let's click on the file and new script. Start with the curly braces, and let's create one vector and give the name as vect, and here I will use the C function, and I will give the values as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9. And now let's create the matrix function. So first give the matrix name. Here I will give the my matrix is equals to the matrix function. Let's open the parenthesis, and in that first pass the vector name. Let's give the comma and the n row, means the number of rows that you want in your matrix. Next is the n col, means the number of columns in your matrix. Here I will give the 3, and let's give the by row is equals to true. Okay, that's all. Let's select all and execute. Okay, here we have to print that matrix. So let's give the print function and the matrix name as my matrix. Let's select and run. Okay, so here you can see there is one error, but still it is printing our matrix as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. These all values are printing. Now let's give the by row as equals to false. Now let's select and execute. So here you can see when I given the by row is equals to true, then it is printing the row wise elements. This vector that contains the values from 1 to 9, this is printing in row wise. And when I given the value of a by row is equals to false, then it is printing the column wise. Here you can see. And when I have not given that dim names, means the dimension names, then it is of column names, it is giving as a comma 1, comma 2 and comma 3. And here you can see the row names as a 1, comma 2, comma and 3, comma. This is how it is taking it as by default. And let's remove this. And now select and run. So here you can see it is taking printing all these values in a column when I have not given the by row value. Okay, now let's create the vector of characters. For that we have to give the single or double quotes for that each character. And here I will create the matrix of 2 into 2. Now here you can see it is printing as AA and BB. So this is how you can use the character matrix. Now let's give the dimension name. So here I will give the vector name as row name is equals to, here I will use the C function, and first as a R1 or row 1, and next one as a row 2. And let's create another vector as whole name. Whole 1, comma whole 2. Now let's give the attribute name as first I will give the by row is equals to true, and then next one is dim names, and here I will give the value as list of row name, comma whole name. So let's execute this. Okay, so here you can see the output, and with the dim names as col 1, col 2 and row 1, row 2. This is how you can give the names to the dimensions. Okay, let's here I will remove this row names and dimension names from here, and let's create the vector using the colon operator. So here I will create the 1 colon 20. This is our elements, and the number of rows here I will give as a 5 and column as 4. So 5 into 4 is 20. So let's execute this. Okay, so here you can see the colon operator is working successfully. The elements from 1 to 20 it is printing, and by row is equals to true, so it is printing from row. So this is how you can create the elements in a matrix using the colon operator. So now let's move to the next functions, that is row bind and column bind, means rbind and cbind. So these cbind and rbind is worked on the existing vectors, means we can add the two vectors by the rows or we can add them by columns. So here you can see the steps: create two vectors, and the second one is the use rbind to bind as a row or cbind to bind as a columns. So as I told you, we can add the two rows or we can add the two columns to create the matrix. So let's see the example on this. Okay, so let's I will remove this all, and here I will create another vector as vector 1, and I will get the values same, and the matrix name is my matrix, and let's use the cbind and pass that vectors as vect comma vect1. Now let's select all and execute. So here you can see it is adding two columns. First vector it is taking as one column, and the second vector as a second column. Now let's use here rbind, replace that C with R. Now select and execute. So here you can see the first vector, it is taking it as a one entire row, and the second vector as a second row. Here you can see. So this is how we can add the two vectors using the cbind or rbind function. Now, so the next one is a dim function. So here you can see it is working on the vectors. Means first it has input. It has an input as x, here you can see, and we can set the dimension using this dim function. So dim function is used to set the dimension or get the dimension of these vectors, and we can specify the how many rows and columns we want. So here you can see the C function. So first one is first element, means this 4 stands for how many rows, and the second element, that stands for how many columns you want in your matrix. So let's check. So here I will create one variable, and let's give the colon operator from 1 to 20, and now give the dim function and pass that vector name here, and use the assignment operator and the C function. Here pass the how many rows and columns you want in your matrix. So 5, 4. Now let's end with this, and now let's print that vector using the print function, print x. Now let's see it is working or not. So here you can see it is printing all the values from 1 to 20 in a column wise. So this is how the dim function works, means we can give the dim dimensions to these vectors. Now let's see using the matrix function how it is return the dimensions, means how many rows and how many columns are present in our matrix. So let's give the matrix name as my, and use the matrix function, and let's pass here 1 to 6 values using the colon operator, and here n rows is equals to 2, and n col, means the number of columns, is equals to 3, and let's give the dim of my, means the dimension, oh sorry, here we have to end this. Okay, now let's see the dimensions of the matrix. So let's print the first my, means that matrix, and here I will assign that into the variable as dim names. Now let's see first. So here you can see this is our matrix, and now let's print the dim names. Print the dim names. Now select all and run. So here you can see this is our matrix, and this is our dimensions. Here you can see I have given the number of rows as 2, so first value is 2, and number of columns is equals to 3. So this is how we can access how many rows and columns we have in our matrix using the dim function. So dim function is used to create the matrix and to access the number of rows and columns in our matrix. Okay, now let's see how to access each element. Means if I want the element at that placed at the second column and the first row. So let's see how to access these each elements. So here you can see, here we have to use the X means the matrix name, and the I and J it stand for the row and column. So if I want the ith row element and the jth column element, so I have to specify that the matrix name and ith and jth row and column to access that particular element. So let's see the example. So now let's create the vector first, or I will use directly the matrix function. Matrix name as my, or that will be the matrix is equals to matrix 1 is equals to matrix function, and here I will give the 1 to 6 values, and the number of rows as 2, and number of columns in code is equals to 3. Now let's print first this matrix 1. Now select and execute. So here you can see these all elements are in our matrix. These all elements are present in our matrix. So let's access the particular element, means the first row and the second column. These three I want to access. So for that, here I will use the print function first, and in that give the matrix name as matrix 1, use the square brackets, and I want the first row second column element, so that I will give here, and this, and now let's select and execute. So here you can see at first row and second column this 3 is present, so it is giving us output as 3. So this is how we can access each element using the square, means that giving the matrix name and in square brackets that each row and column. This is how we can access the particular element in our matrix. Now let's remove this first element and execute. So here you can see when I have not given the row value, then it is printing the second column entire, these 3 and 4 values. Now let's give the 1 and remove this 2, so it will print the all row element at, means the first row it will print entire. Now let's remove all this. So let's see the short summary. So here you can see if you want the any row, then you have to pass only the row value and give the comma. The entire row is print, And next, if you want the column, only the column values, then give the comma and that column names. It will print the entire column. If you want any particular element, then you have to specify both row and column, then it will access that particular element. Okay, so that wraps up our video on the matrix. So in today's video we will learn how what is the matrix and how to create the matrix, which all functions used to create the matrix. So in next video I will create on the operations on the matrix, so stay tuned for that. And I hope this video will help you to learn the R language. And if you like this video, then don't forget to share and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching. Bye bye.